Hey, what's going on? You know, it's crazy, you know, at this time of year, you know. I went to the store today. I be taking my bag, you know. I got it from Walmart, you know. A very great store, you know. Walmart is where I got my bag from, you know. And I got when I was at the store, you know, going back and forth from here and there and there and here, you know. It was people outside of my marriage looking similar, the same way as people I grew up with being around. And I never would have thought, you know, I can't believe I never would have thought that I would see them and those people would be wearing purses and wigs and it seems as if some of the people who were boys or males or men when I was growing up, it seemed like a lot of them became girls or ladies or women or some other gender other than the gender I am, you know. And I don't understand it, you know. So I stay inside of my marriage license certificate household and try not speaking to any of them, you know. It's crazy because, you know, having a marriage license certificate, you know, they say it means having in-laws. And, you know, I haven't seen any of them, you know, for the same reasons, you know. I think one time I was watching some videos and looking at computer websites. In the same way, some of them who claim being in-laws, who claim to be boys and men and males, had on wigs, wearing dresses and ladies' clothes or women's clothes. And it seems strange, you know, if boys and males or men were claiming being in-laws but became women, ladies, and girls and was dressed in dresses and wigs and all of that and all of that. And then I said, no, 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 you know. And this is brown, you know, the same color. Not the color of my t-shirt, you know. You know, my t-shirt is not the same color. You know. So it's crazy, you know. Cause, you know, the reason why, you know, some of them had got mad is because, you know, they say if boys and men and males are grown and have a child, and after being grown and after having a child, a grown person who is a boy or a man or a male wore a wig, a lady's wig or a women's wig, or wore a dress and, you know, was dressed as a woman or a lady or a female or as, you know, those ways, then it's different for them, you know. Their sexuality is different, you know, than mine, you know. Because those guys are into doing it with other males, men, and boys. You know, a sexuality I don't have. So I stay away from them and their parties, the parties, you know. And they say I have a child myself, you know. They say I have offspring myself. And they say, hey, Brandon, because, you know, they say, hey, Brandon. They say, my name Brandon. They say, hey, Brandon. When they said you had a child, who is that? I was like, well, you know, it was a family court case in the year of 2006. And they, the people of the family court of Jefferson County, Alabama, said, I have a child. You know, I have offspring, you know, in need of supervision. I think it was October 6th in the year of 2006. And, you know, since then, some of the people said, well, did you ever do what those in-laws did? You know, after a child being born and being grown, was you ever dressed as a lady or a woman or a female, you know, wearing a wig or a dress, or in videos, making videos twerking the same way those guys who claim being in-laws was and wearing purses and stuff like that. And I said, no, 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 no. Because, you know, the way people taught me from my tribe is when a person is grown and is said of being the parent of a child, you know, being a dad of a child, then the ways of my tribe is if a person is grown and a dad of a child, then a grown person in my tribe, a dad from my tribe, a grown person with a child from my tribe would not be wearing, you know, a grown person who is a male, you know, a boy or a man, you know, or a dad being grown would not be wearing a purse or ladies' clothes or a dress or a wig or making videos, twerking in the videos, you know. If someone is a male and grown and said being a dad, having offspring, and, you know, my tribe, you know. So I don't really know what tribe, or if it's a tribe at all, of those who claim to be in-laws, you know. You know, those guys who's wearing purses while claiming being someone's dad. You know, those guys who was in videos twerking while claiming being someone's dad. You know, those guys, you know, who's wearing ladies' wigs, women wigs, or women dresses, or women's clothes. Or those guys, you know, those males who became females or ladies or women or some other kind of gender and was claiming being someone's dad or someone's brother, or, you know, stuff like that, you know. It's what some of those people, you know, what it seems like, you know, from then in different tribes, you know. So I said, no, I'm not part of those tribes, you know. I don't bother them, of course, you know. I don't bother any of them. And I don't go to their parties and stuff like that because, you know, they say, well, since those parties are a lot of the time sex parties where people would be having sex with each other, then if you're not at those parties, then you don't have to worry about any of them having sex with you or Brandon. And then, you know, my tribe would not be getting in trouble for the sex other people had, you know, stuff like that, you know. And I thought about it, and I was like, it does make sense, you know, because, you know, growing up, it was guys, you know, who touched my butt, you know, my butt, and it was guys, you know, who claimed to be someone's husband or someone's dad and stuff like that, and sexually abused me, you know, the same way. My butt, my butt, you know, stuff like that, you know. And it was some people who got mad. It was like, how dare you tell what those in-laws did to you, Brandon? How dare you tell? And I'm like, I'm telling the truth. It was videos on the social media pages. It was people who they said was boys or men or brothers, or some of the people even claimed that some of them were the dad of their child, you know. Those in-laws, what those in-laws were saying, and those same guys that claimed being in-laws, the ones who were in those videos, was wearing purses and ladies' clothes or women's clothes, and was wearing dresses and stuff like that, and not part of my tribe, you know. Some other God or some other being called God to them, you know. I don't bother them, you know. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, when it's these times of the year and people would be having those family gatherings and parties, and would be drinking alcohol, and some of the people would be doing drugs and stuff, and a lot of the people would be having sex with each other. It was like, you know, as long as me, myself, is not at those parties, then I don't have to worry about any of them bumping into me or saying, oh, Brandon, I thought you were someone else, you know. Because, you know, they say a lot of people were sexually abused, and then some of the people would say, oh, I thought you was someone else, or oh, I thought you was this person or that person, you know, stuff like that. Or they, no, they was drunk, or, you know, they was high, or you know, they was partying, you know. No big deal, you know, don't worry about it, you know. It's like, you know, won't happen again. This type of stuff is what other people would be saying. And so it was like, it's best not going to parties where stuff would be going on if you're not the same sexuality of the people at those sex parties, you know. Because sometimes the sex parties would be parties where grown people would have been having sex with a child, and children would have been having sex with grown people. And if me, myself, is not at those parties with them, and then I won't get in trouble for the sex those grown people had with a child and those children had with grown people, you know. And, you know, going to the church a lot of people said, you know, it was because of what some of those, you know, some of those bad religions or those bad preachers, you know, from those other churches who was teaching people, that some of those people was playing a game talking about being Abraham, and some of the people was claiming, even though they claimed having a wife, some of them were still having sex with someone, claiming that it was a handmaiden and getting them pregnant. They said it was something, you know, the same way the Abraham dude from one of those Bible stories. They said some church taught them that stuff. And they were saying that, basically what they were saying is that a dude would be married, or would claim being married and claim having a wife. He would say that his wife wanted a baby or a child being born. And then he had sex with someone else and got someone else pregnant, even though he was claiming someone else was his wife. So it's like, he made a girl into a single mom, you know, is what they say the dude Abraham did. And They say it's a different kind of God, or it's a different being that those people call God. Because they said those people believed in a God of having a wife, is what those people say they believed in. They said they believed in a man having a wife, and a man named Abraham having a wife. And they believed in the God of Abraham. And it was like, well, what did they say the God of Abraham is? They said the God of Abraham was someone who they said was a God of, even when though a man claimed having a wife, the same man that they said name was Abraham had sex with a handmaiden or a slave. And it seemed like he was a sex slave, because they said if Abraham had a wife and his wife wanted a child being born, and if Abraham knew he was married and had sex with a handmaiden and got her pregnant anyway, and she was not his wife, because you can only have one wife, and then they say the God of Abraham is the wrong God for people who do not believe in being sex slaves or forced into having a baby born for someone else's wife when a person is married, you know. And I thought about it, you know, it's like my head kind of hurt, you know. Like, it's hard saying it, because it was like, if a person said it was a God of Abraham, and it was like, well, according to that book, if they said it was a God of Abraham, what did Abraham do? Like, so it was like, what was the sexuality of making children born the way Abraham did? And they said, well, the religion and the God and the gospel of what Abraham believes in, when people would talk about believing in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and attaching themselves to those types of lifestyles, it means that a guy would say that he is married and would claim someone being his wife. I think they said that his wife was using the name Sarah, and he was using the name Abraham. And even though he know he had a wife, he had sex with the handmaiden because he claimed that his wife told him to be having sex with the handmaiden. And I was like, what is a handmaiden? They said a handmaiden is a maid. It's what people call a maid. And I was like, what is a maid? They say a handmaiden is like a housemaiden or a housemaid or a maid. And I was like, what does that mean? It was like, it's just a fancy word for slave. And it was like, but if he was having sex with her and she was a slave, wouldn't that mean that she was a sex slave? And a lot of people said, yes, that's exactly what it means, Brandon. And they say, you know, I was talking to this lady one time, and she was like, you know, she got mad because she was like, you know, it seemed like what she was saying, you know, speaking from the spirit, is that she felt that, you know, the handmaiden was a European female, and Abraham was not. And a lot of the European people seemed mad because it was like, wait a minute. If the handmaiden was a European female and someone who was not a European forced her into being a handmaiden and forced her into getting pregnant, when you can only have one wife, and the dude that forced her into getting pregnant already had a wife and was claiming being married to her, and they said his name was Abraham, and he claimed having his own God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, wouldn't that mean the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was the God those people was claiming as being the God of having handmaidens and getting handmaidens pregnant, even though the handmaiden is not your wife? Well, wouldn't that be having sex outside of the identity of his marriage? You know? So if Abraham had a marriage license certificate and it said the name Sarah, they said then he was not supposed to have been having sex with the handmaiden. And he was definitely not supposed to have been getting her pregnant. Because then she would have became a single mom or a single mother. Is what some people call it. And so a lot of people said those are the type of churches that people went to. Some of the churches, you know, are the ones, for some strange reason, still following what those people call the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know, the God they call a God, those people call a God of even when a person claims being married to one person, the one person claiming being the husband of the marriage was still going outside of his marriage, having sex with a handmaiden or a sex slave, getting her pregnant. And they said there was no evidence of the handmaiden ever saying yes. So it seems forced when he did it to her. And it seems the pregnancy was forced when he did it to her. And a lot of that stuff from those books seemed very inappropriate for children and very inappropriate for people to still be practicing those ways, you know. Which is why I am not part of it, you know. I don't bother them or those churches or those people who claim believing in a God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the reason why I don't bother them is because some people say, you don't have to go against something in order to not be part of it, you know. If a person claiming being a husband does not believe in doing what those Abraham type people did, you know, of claiming having a wife, one wife, and then going outside of the marriage, having sex with someone else and getting them pregnant. And then if a person does not believe in doing it those ways, and then a person claiming being a husband does not have to be doing it those ways, you know. Which is why, you know, me being a husband, I was never doing it those ways, you know. Because I would never want to do what they say those people did. Making a girl into a single mom. Making a girl into a handmaiden or a sex slave of getting pregnant from some old man, you know. Because, you know, they say Abraham was very old when he did it. And they say he did it to her because his wife told him to do it. And I was like, wait a minute. If Abraham had a wife, why wasn't he doing it to his wife? The church said that you're not supposed to have been having sex outside of the identity of your marriage if you are married, is what the church would say. It was like, you know, most people are not part of the church of what those people call the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you know. And if those aren't the right names, they were saying most people are not part of whatever church the church is when a person claims being married and a husband, but then had sex with someone outside of the identity of the marriage license certificate and got them pregnant because the person claiming being a husband said his own wife told him to have been getting someone else pregnant because she, claiming being his wife, wanted a baby. Whatever God or being or spirit those people believe in is not the same for me, you know. Is what I'm saying, you know. Because, you know, most of these stuff is what they say, you know. Most of this stuff is what they say, you know, being the witness of the evidence, you know. And I was never, you know, causing trouble at any of the churches, you know. I've never been burning down any of the churches or stealing or from any of the churches or fighting inside of any of the churches. I was never doing that stuff that they said other people did. I was never inside of a church flipping over the money tables and, you know, stuff that they said other people did, you know. And then they said it was this other church too, you know. They said it was this other church where they said someone claimed to be the son or God or the son of God and claimed being everyone's husband, you know. Now, I'm not part of those types either, you know. You see, it was someone who claimed being a son or the son of God or the son of man, you know. You see, it's crazy, you know. You see, all of it's crazy because whoever it was, you know, they said he claimed to be everyone's husband, you know. He claimed saying something about, according to what the book says, what they said, the book said something about, he claimed that everyone should prepare themselves for his marriage, being a bride to him. And I was like, him? But what if you're a boy, a male, a man, a dude, a guy? What if you're already someone's husband? You know? And then, you know, a lot of people say, yeah, it makes sense what you are saying, Brandon. If you are already a husband, then you don't need a husband being married to you, Brandon. So those types of churches are not the types of churches, you know, for me, you know, because a person who is a husband has no need of being married to a husband, you know. So when I was inside of some of those churches, you know, listening to what they was preaching about, a lot of them said the same. They said, yeah, someone doesn't know how to read that book the right way and had ruined a lot of people's life, telling them a bunch of crazy stuff about all of them being married to the same husband from 2,000 years ago is what they say about the book. They said if a book is 2,000 years old, and according to a book, it's over 2,000 years old, then the character of claiming being everyone's husband is a very old male character, a character of a male being over 2,000 years old, claiming for everyone being prepared as a I think they see it as a bride for his marriage. And you know, being here in the state of Georgia, they said a lot of those churches and those types of places have been being shut down because a lot of those people did exactly what people were saying to me. They said a lot of those people were claiming being God or the Son of God or an angel or Jesus or one of those Abraham people from the tribe of the books of the Bible, and was grown people having sex with children, or was children having sex with grown people, or was people saying that they were the second coming of Christ and stuff like that. And all they did was made a whole bunch of children, you know, the same way, calling people sister wives and handmaidens and all kind of names, you know, of those words from those books. I don't really know what they mean, you know. And they say a lot of those churches have been being shut down and stopped because so many children, you know, and underage pregnancies have happened when people, you know, for some strange reason, I don't know what would have possessed them to do it, but for some strange reason, some of the people began thinking that they were the Son of God or the Christ or a God or a tribe from a 2,000-year-old book about some guy named Abraham having sex outside of his marriage with a handmaiden and doing it over and over and over again, you know, making generations of the same types of mistakes. I never did, you know. So, you know, it's very important, they say, you know, making these types of videos, you know, being a dad, you know, caring for others, you know, being a husband, you know, and sharing the information given to me, because they say sharing is caring, and that people would need answers. Instead of naming all of the problems people did, they said someone should be giving answers instead of naming the same problems over and over again. I was like, well, you know, I gave the answers given to me. I'm giving the answers given to me now. You know, they say all the person ever had to do is save your sex, you know, your virginity, for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life. And then there would have never been a such thing as going outside of your marriage and having sex with a handmaiden and making a handmaiden into a single mom or a single mother, and people getting mad and fighting and arguing with each other because of some book someone made about some guy named Abraham doing it, you know. And some people even called it a God, you know. There's a lot of people that say a lot of people believe in following the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They say, but isn't the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, according to what those stories in the Bible say, aren't they talking about a God of when a person claims being married and claims being a husband, the person voluntarily had sex with someone else outside of the marriage identity of the one wife? And a lot of people said those people who do that type of stuff and who did that type of stuff are those people, and no one knows if those are really the names, but according to the Bible, unless there's any mistakes made about the name, those people were calling it the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you know. And, you know, it's the same way when they was talking about the Son, whether it was the Son of Man or the Son of God, or whether it was Jesus of Nazareth or the carpenter's son or the son of Mary, you know, all of those names and stuff like that. It was like, well, it seemed like it was too many people with the same name that started with the letter J, you know. And, you know, if those are stories from a book, you know, a lot of people said that, you know, you really would not need a book confusing you if you know yourself, being a husband, never had sex with anyone outside of the identity of your marriage license certificate or evidence of what your marriage license certificate says your marriage is, then you would need no book at all. It was like, yeah, it makes sense to me, you know. And say, so, you know, being a dad and, you know, being a husband and caring for others and, you know, the future, they say, did you think you have any answers, Brandon? And I say, yes. If a person saves their virginity, you know, their sex, and they say having sex means going all the way, you know, and could possibly be the cause of a pregnancy being made when a person is going all the way, you know, is what they call having sex or doing it. So they say, well, the answer is, if a person simply saves their virginity, you know, their sex of, you know, going all the way for the purpose of being married, then whatever name or God or spirit or whatever it's called, you wouldn't have to worry about it because you never made anyone into a single mom, and you never made anyone into a single mother, and you never had a sex slave, and you never had a handmaid, and you never forced any of those pregnancies. So, you know, a lot of preachers have preached from day one to all the children, whatever you do, make sure to save your virginity, your sex, for the purpose of being married. And it doesn't matter what anyone else does, as long as you yourself know you saved your sex. You know, you're going all the way sex, your virginity, for the purpose of being married, then you won't get in trouble for the sex anyone else had. Whether they call it the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whether it's those people who thought that they were God or Jesus and wanted everybody being married to the same Jesus person, it seems like the wrong kind of son is what, you know, the people would say, because, you know, there's a lot of people who claim being married, and, you know, here in America, they say it's something called respect for all marriages. So, you know, caring for others in all marriages, you know, they say if a church or a preacher or someone was, you know, for example, they say if you yourself are a husband and someone was outside of your marriage claiming being Jesus or God or the Son of God or the Son of Man or a prophet or an angel and wanted your wife being married to them instead of you, then a lot of people were saying the character that some people call Jesus is the character who would be targeting people's wives and children because of a Bible verse which said for everyone to be preparing themselves for his wedding, you know. And when he said everyone, it was like, even the boys? But what if I'm already someone's husband? I don't want a husband, you know. I don't want a husband. So they say, well then, you don't have to have a husband if you don't want a husband. Especially if the husband wanted all of those wives and children and stuff like that. You see, a lot of people have went to jail for that stuff, Brandon. Even here in Georgia. People tried making churches that way. They said, you're not one of those people, are you, Brandon? I'm like, no. I'm not one of those people believing in being God or Jesus or one of those characters from a 2,000-year-old book of wanting, you know, what those people claimed was, I don't even know what it is, you know. It's like, you know, I'm not him. I'm not him, you know. I'm not one of those guys, you know. I'm not one of those guys interested in starting one of those types of churches. They say it's called a cult or a sex cult or a fertility cult. And they say that fertility cult is when those people were doing it for the purpose of making pregnancies and building armies and starting a war and the wrong kind of tribes because of not knowing what those books really mean and listening to what other people told them instead of following the same God my tribe follows. You know, the tribe of never making a person into a single mom. You know, the tribe of saving my virginity, you know, my voluntary going all the way 6 for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life. So, you know, they say caring for others, you know. And but, you know, I made a couple of books, you know, and the problem with, you know, when others try reading those books is if I am not the one explaining to you what the book means, and then you would get the wrong idea listening to what someone else is telling you from a book I wrote. Because only I know what I mean when I am saying words and when I made books, you know. And there is no interpretation outside of what I say the words in the book mean, you know. So it was never a point of really stealing any of those books or, you know, attempting at figuring out what any of them mean if you weren't giving credit you know, for writing and making books, you know, and explaining what the spirit and the books and the churches said to me, you know. So, I'm not sure what everyone else is doing, you know, or the 6 other people outside of my marriage had, you know. I don't have any experience in 6 outside of my marriage. So, you know, there's really not anything to say about it because, well, if I don't have any experience in 6 outside of my marriage, you know, and then there's nothing I can say about 6 outside of my marriage because I don't have any experience in 6 outside of my marriage, you know, outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, you know. So, you know, sometimes it seems like I'm the only one member of my tribe, you know, the tribe of, you know, having a marriage license certificate with the year of 2004 being the date of my marriage license certificate. And all of these years later, you know, never had 6 outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is. And it's a very hard job, you know, with all of the different churches and all of the different religions and all of the different other people claiming other tribes and all of the beautiful looking fat girls and all of the beautiful skinny looking girls and all of the beautiful light girls and all of the beautiful dark girls and all of the beautiful girls with the tattoos all over their face and all of the beautiful girls with the long hair and with the short hair and all of the beautiful single moms and the beautiful ones calling themselves single mothers and all of the beautiful, you know, girls, you know, with the same kind of, you know, background I have of, you know, being born from European people and other backgrounds of people of color and being, you know, what some people call mixed, you know, and with all of the different shades and shapes and sizes, all of the beautiful tall girls, all of the beautiful short girls. And, you know, sometimes when I'm watching the videos and looking at the pictures, I be like, wow, I'll never get to see what it feels like, you know, doing it to those tall, beautiful girls, those short, beautiful girls, those fat, beautiful girls, those skinny, beautiful girls, those bald head beautiful girls. But you know, a lot of the bald head beautiful girls are what they call models and supermodels. You know, for some reason people love those bald head models and supermodels. And you know, all of the long haired beautiful girls, I would never get to see what it feels like doing it to them. And you know, all the, and what I mean when I say girls, I'm talking about, you know, grown females, you know, old enough for getting a marriage license certificate, you know, not underage children, no. And the reason why I say I would never get to do it to them is because, you know, having a marriage license certificate with the date of the year of 2004 as evidence of being a husband, then doing the job of being a husband means a hard job. All of these years, day after day, week after week, you know. So many of them claimed being available and willing and able of moving me into their homes and their apartments and their places, you know, outside of my marriage. And I say no. I say no. With all of the strong feelings and all of the strong passions and all of the beautifulness and all of the gorgeousness and all of the loveliness it looks like and appears being, it's very heartbreaking to me saying no, because doing the job of being a husband, you know, means saying no, because being a husband means not having sex outside of the identity of what my marriage license certificate says my marriage is, you know. So, you know, I'm not one of those people from any of those, you know, those Abraham stories or those books and stuff like that. And I'm not one of those people out there burning down any of their churches or starting any kind of fights with people, you know. Those people who they say were smashing and grabbing and going inside of people's stores and stealing all of their items and taking over their businesses and stuff and all of that stuff like that, you know. You know, it was people who tried influencing me into doing stuff like that. I was like, no, you know. Mostly I'm wearing the same clothes every day, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, instead of being with them, doing all of that stealing and robbing and taking people's lives and businesses and all kind of bad stuff, then people would know, oh, this Brandon, he's wearing the same clothes every day and stuff like that. He has a marriage license certificate with the year of 2004 because he doesn't know the date he got married, being a mental health patient. And he's not a criminal because, you know, a lot of people said anyone would have been moved on and went looking for other options or other opportunities or what a lot of other people did instead of staying here every day saying I have marriage license certificate with the year of 2004 as the date of my marriage license certificate and stuff. You know, they say there's evidence, you know, they say there's evidence. You know, they say, you know, there's been a lot of investigations going on into those crimes of those people who were smashing and grabbing and stealing from people's businesses, and those people who were claiming being the chosen ones and the tribes of God and all of that stuff, and you know, and those people who were claiming being angels in the second coming of Christ and all of that stuff. A lot of those people, they say, you know, throw their lives away listening to the wrong churches and got attached to something not good, you know. So, you know, everyone would know, you know, that I never did, you know. I usually go to the store, you know, get my food, you know. I might get one of these or some, you know, to smoke. It's brown, you know. It's not that bad stuff they be having, you know. Those illegal drugs now. So, you know, this is a video, you know, made because they say a lot of people, you know, from the time of when I was a child and now, some of the boys became women, you know, some of the men became women, and a lot of the boys and men and males are, you know, the type with a character of being those who made girls into single moms and single mothers and tried doing the same stuff they said Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did, following what they call a different God from what different people told them, instead of, what I say, And I feel bad, for, all of them, which is why, I never made anyone into a single mom or a single mother, and stuff, because, I always thought, well, if a book is 2,000 years old, I don't understand why anyone would have been wanting a marriage with a person 2,000 years older than them. Whether it's a person that they say his name is Jesus, or a ghost, or a person from 2,000 years ago. I always thought, but wouldn't he be too old? Wouldn't it be a sex offense if a person 2,000 years older than us was asking for a child being married to him? But what about his age? They say a lot of churches had got mad at me, and sometime between then and now, I had got beat up a lot for talking this way of what I think, because some people seem to have had an idea that a person from a Bible story or a book that they say is more than 2,000 years old, they were telling children being, prepared. They were instructing children into preparing themselves for being his bride. His bride. His bride. A person more than 2,000 years old is what they say. The book is older than 2,000 years old. So if they were talking about a character from a book being more than 2,000 years old, wanting us being his bride, I said, no, I don't want a husband. I'm not part of it, Me, myself, being a member of a lot of different churches is different than being someone's bride, because they say it's a lot of single women inside of the church. It's a lot of single mothers at churches. So it was like, being a member of a lot of different churches is not the same thing as being someone's bride. It's not the same thing as having a husband, So, since me, myself, I am a husband, it means I don't want a husband being married to me. No. Gotta push it away, push it away, push it away. Spiritually push it away is what they say. Spiritually push it away. And if people got mad, they say, oh, don't be mad, You would not have an interest in me anyway. Because it would only feel weird being at a party of people with a sexuality that I don't have, Which is why, when a lot of those in-laws called family gatherings and stuff, I'm not part of those family tribes of gatherings with them, because, their tribe of the sexuality, the sexuality of the tribe of those people, of the sexuality those people have, is different and not the same as the sexuality I have, which is evidence of being a different tribe, So, the tribe of no sex crimes, the tribe of never making a person into a single mom, my tribe. The tribe of having the tattoos visibly showing, and the evidence of the face tattoos visibly showing is evidence of my tribe, and this is the number one, They say it's a Roman numeral. It's like a little I, and it's the number one. And they say, what is this on top of it? They say, it's a dot, It's like, what is the dot for? The dot is symbolic of the womb of a female. So that every time I look at my face, always knowing the womb of a female is a place for never making a person into a single mom or a single mother, And they're like, why is the womb on top of the eye? Because the womb, they say, is the most special, most sacred, most precious part of a female's body and should never be used for making a person into a single mom or a single mother. It's what my tribe teaches. And they say, if you look at it, it has more than one meaning. See, the little I is like a baddie. See, the part going down the middle is like the baddie. The part going across here is like the two arms, the eye. The part going down here across here is like the legs, and then the circle is like a baby. Because, the story of a single mother, a single mom. So the circle is like the head. The top part of the eye going across is like the two arms. The middle part is like the body. And then the bottom part going across is like the two legs. So it's like a baby sitting down. Where the circle is the head. The part going across is the two arms. The middle part going down is the body. And then the two legs is the bottom part of the eye going across, It's symbolic of my tribe and, loving females and always knowing, of believing in there being a father God for us and a mother God for us. Because they say the male ways come from somewhere, from our father God, and the female ways come from somewhere, from our mother God. It's what they say to me of my tribe, And they say because, when a person is born, they say, from a male and a female, And it's the same way with, the symbol of my tribe. The eye also represents the male private part, the same way the circle represents the female womb. And it shows the sexuality of how a baby is made, you know, where the I represents the male private part and the O represents the female private part, you know, her womb. And so, you know, it's very important, they say, you know, knowing this. And it's like, you know, and these, you know, in some cultures are called crying marks. And they say, what are crying marks? You know, why are those there? It means I suffered a lot, you know, being disabled. And you see a lot of the, from being abused and bad stuff was did to me. So, you know, it's evidence of my suffering, you know, crying marks. See, it's not teardrops, you know, from taking anyone's life. They're straight lines, crying marks, you know. They say some of the people in a place called, they say some of the people in a place in other countries have similar marks, but these are different for me, you know, because, you know, here in America, I was inspired, you know, from a lot of different churches and religions and books and teachings and spiritual messages, you know. And sometimes it would seem like voices and ghosts and angels, and, you know, sometimes it would even seem like demons and stuff, you know. And I would not know who was telling the truth, and I would not know who was telling the lie, and it would be very confusing, you know. So, you know, being a mental health patient, you know, a lot of the doctors and scientists and counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists sometimes would be asking a lot of questions, you know, about what the thoughts and ideas were that I would have. And they were like, well, some of the voices that I tell them that I hear, they say make a lot of sense, you know. And it's hard knowing the truth from a lie, because when for years and years and years a group of people did stuff a certain way and it seems wrong, and then, you know, some crazy person comes along talking the way I'm talking and say a lot of that stuff that you said the voices be saying, Brandon, makes way more sense than the way people have been doing it. And, you know, since I never made a girl into a single mom or a single mother, and, you know, since I saved my virginity, you know, my going all the way 6 for the purpose of being married to one spouse only ever in life, a lot of people seem to say, so it is possible. It seems someone was listening to the wrong God or the wrong voice or the wrong spirit and actually did stuff which caused the problems. And I was not one of the people doing any of the making of problems, you know. So, you know, these videos, you know, like this video, you know, this video is a video of me, you know, telling what the voices and spirits and thoughts and ideas given to me, said to me, and is evidence, you know, of what they say, you know, and why I am not part of, you know, any of the crimes others have been doing, you know, whether they are sex crimes or whether it was people stealing money or whether it was people selling illegal drugs and stuff like that, you know. And I told, you know, that I was never a part of any of those gangs or bad groups, you know, because they say all of those groups have leaders, Brandon. And if someone went to a gang leader and asked, when was a Brandon ever initiated into any of those gangs, then everyone would know Brandon was never initiated into any of those gangs. Because they would have to ask, what was the day of his initiation? Was he ever told he was initiated, or was he ever part of being initiated into any of those gangs or those crime groups? The answer is no. So, there would be no reason for false claiming, any of those groups, because they say a lot of those groups are in trouble and are being torn apart. And they say one of the craziest things to do would be joining a group when the group is in trouble and being torn apart. It would be crazy joining a group once the group is now being torn apart from years and years of being a criminal gang, mob, mafia, or whatever it is it's called. And they say, a lot of people here in Macon and in Georgia know I was attacked because they say a lot of people seen those videos I made before I was attacked. And it was on another website, and I was talking about churches, and I was talking about people abusing children, and it was a lot of famous people that were in the video saying the same stuff. It was a lot of people they said that was part of Hollywood and part of the movie industry and the entertainment industry. And when I made those videos using the clips that those entertainers was in those videos, a lot of people said they noticed that after I made those videos, someone had targeted me and had attacked me. And a lot of people believe it was because I made those videos using other people's ideas and other people's clips of what other people said, and that someone with a different sexuality than my sexuality got mad at me. And I was hurt from being attacked because of what someone else said. Because it was like, most of those videos I made was either saying what they said or using clips of other people talking themselves, and I wasn't really saying much at all, So, caring for others, and it's crazy the way caring for others and making those videos and stuff, caring about, reporting children was being abused, caring about reporting that children were being sexually abused, caring about everyone's daughter, because when I never made anyone's daughter into a single mom, it seems like caring about everyone's daughter. And a lot of people say it's crazy if I was ever attacked when there is no evidence of me going outside of my marriage attacking anyone. And there's no evidence of me ever being the cause of any violence or bullying or targeting of anyone, I was watching or listening to a video earlier today, and it was a girl talking, and it seemed like a lot of what she said made sense to me. She was saying that, I know it's, a lot of time it seems like, messages are for me. So I don't know if the message was for me, but it seemed like the message was for me when she was saying that, some people seem like the type of person I am. A lot of the stuff I did was in response to a situation someone else had already put me in. A lot of the stuff that I did was stuff I never wanted to do. was stuff I had to do because someone else had put me in a situation I never asked for being in, you know, stuff like that, you know, and they say what it was is that, you know, someone from outside of my marriage, you know, got mad at me because I kept saying I saved my virginity for the purpose of being married, and got mad at me because I'm not a follower of whatever those people call the God of having sex with handmaidens outside of one wife, you know, outside of the marriage, you know. And some of those people were like, you know, they don't like what he's saying. And it's like, hey, I got beat up, you know. I got beat up. So, you know, I don't know, you know, the same way. I don't know if they claim being a gang, a mob, a mafia, or it's crazy these days because if it's about the church, a lot of people say they claim being church thugs, you know. And one dude even said that he was a preacher